everyone, it's Heather, and for today's video, I wanted to share my antique collection with you guys. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I also collect vintage toys and other vintage items, but that's not all I collect. I also have a love of spooky old antiques, particularly early photography. So in today's video, I'm going to share my collection with you guys, and maybe if we have time at the end, I'll talk about some pieces I would like to add to the collection over the next year. So let's jump into it. I have everything on this little bookcase that I got for $1. It's not looking very good at the moment. I was supposed to buy a cabinet for my collection, but I can't really afford one at the moment. Also, you're going to see a bunch of glare on these pictures, and this room is absolutely trashed. There's all kinds of stuff piled up. So you're going to see, my mess in the reflection, which is great. So please don't mind that. I'm cleaning it up very soon. So here's my sweet little amber type of this little girl, and she actually has a necklace that is painted on. I really love the chair in this photo, and to me she actually looks a lot like me whenever I was a kid. So I think that's another thing that drew me to her. I won her for pretty cheap on eBay, and I was happy about that. So on the back of her case, she actually has what I believe are morning glories. I could be wrong, but I thought that was really pretty. So next to her is my favorite tin type of this gentleman. I have jokingly called him Ghost Boyfriend. I'm a tiny bit obsessed with him because he has this amazing gaze that always seems to comfort me. And for some reason he looks like someone I feel like I know. It's very strange. So this is Hilda, and this is Helga, and a dear friend of mine actually gave them those names, and they're really cute and it fits them absolutely perfectly. So little Hilda here actually has a white eye. Obviously it would have been bright blue in real life. I believe that's called dichromatic eyes, where one eye is darker and one is lighter. And so I actually turned this image, and on the negative, her eye is actually light like that. So I truly believe that she probably really did look like that. And if she didn't, and it's somehow part of her decay, which I doubt, but if it is, then she is just a really cool piece regardless, because what a cool effect to have. So I got these two together off Etsy, and they were marketed as sisters, and I do believe that they were indeed sisters because their cases are exactly the same on front and back. They were sold to me as amber types, but I did a little bit of research, and I believe they're actually my first daguerreotypes, which are older, and they're probably over 160 years old, which just blows my mind. Now, I am just going to assume that they really are daguerreotypes because whenever I turn them, you can see the white negative, and my amber types do not do that. Nothing else in my collection does that except for them. So I'm just going to assume that they are indeed daguerreotypes, which is very exciting because I've been wanting one in my collection and I finally have them. So her sister here has a dress that is tinted pink, and she's super cute. But oh my gosh, Hilda is by far my most favorite thing in my entire antique collection now. The two different colored eyes alone are extremely cool. So all the babies get a name whenever they come to me because, like I said, I feel like a little piece of someone's soul is in these pictures. It's all that's left of someone. So I named this little one Eliza. Now, Eliza is also an amber type. She's really cool. Look at her. She's like so miserable. Her dress is really cool. She has like a beaded necklace. I absolutely love her. So unfortunately, this was smashed by someone because it was like out of the case. But someone kindly put it on this nice little stand for me. So in the back here, we have what I am just going to call a death card. I really like, memento mori items. I'm really fascinated by hair jewelry and hair wreaths and casket plates and stuff like that. But the only thing I have like that so far is what I'm just going to call a death card because that's what other people have called it. So on the top there is a poem. And this is in remembrance of Elsa Stewart, who died on September 20th, 1888 at 32 years old. Now, I'm going to assume she was a local, and I'm actually going to see if I can find her grave at my local cemetery. She might be there, which is going to be pretty interesting. But I've seen these death cards in all kinds of designs, and they're not terribly expensive. They're just a really cool thing to add to your collection. So the next thing we have in this little case is actually an 1800s half dollar that I found when I was out for a walk, which is pretty crazy. I found this in the woods. So let's see, this is from 1876. It's a pretty cool piece. I left the dirt on it because I thought that was really cool. And yeah, this is the first old coin that I've ever found. And this just kind of hangs out in this case. The case is not antique, but I did get it at an antique shop. It's just a cool way to display something interesting, so I have that in there for now. Alright, so we have some more antique photography here. So here we have an amber type and a tin type, and they're both in these amazing union cases. So from what I've heard, this is actually a rare case. It has this really gorgeous fairy on it coming out of a flower, and I just thought that was so interesting. Now I ended up with both of these by accident, I guess. I had bid on this one many months ago as a treat to myself, and the seller messaged me about some other one they had that was part of the listing, and I kept looking at the listing like, what are they talking about? So this is the blind beggar case, and I believe it's actually a religious thing, and I was not expecting two to show up at my door. So, you know, I opened this one and I was really excited, and then I saw this little guy and I was like, oh my goodness. So anyway, let's check this one out. So inside this little union case, you have this lady that is just amazing. Look at her dress, and her hair has this special ribbon in it, and they actually painted on gold jewelry. And then inside the case is velvet, and it's stamped, and oh, I love her so much. Her case has a fairy on it. It's very, very cool. And don't mind my nails, I just did them, so they're a little bit messy. So anyway, whenever I went to go open this case, I was quite surprised by what was inside. So a lot of people have asked me, Heather, is this post-mortem? And he's not. The whole idea of people being sat up with their eyes open and you have to guess which one is dead, like that is an absolute internet myth. With post-mortem photography, a lot of people are laid out. They're not propped up like this, so that's just a myth. He just is a very miserable looking child. And he's really cool. He also has gold buttons painted on. He has a very fancy little suit on, and his hands are kind of transparent and disappearing. He's really cool. So I actually ended up naming him Casper, because to me, like, he almost looks like a ghost because of how he's like semi-transparent and stuff. And I kind of feel like he looks like Elijah Wood. Am I the only one who feels like this child looks kind of like a young Elijah Wood? Because I see it. So I ended up naming him Casper Elijah, and my 6 times great-grandfather is Elijah Lucas. So he's Casper Elijah Lucas. Oh my. So there's like cool little grapes on his case that I thought were really interesting. And he's a cool piece. So the next piece we have here is one that if you've been around for a while, you know all about. So whenever I was probably 19 or 20, I found this whenever I went into my uncle's shed after he died. Now, my uncle was a junk collector. He had all kinds of good stuff. You guys ever watch American Pickers and the places they go? That's what his shed was like. It was a land of dreams. It was amazing. So in his shed, I found this tray of all these old music pages and notebooks. And it turns out that they belong to a vaudeville performer named Frank Ernest. Now, I think he just wrote for vaudeville. I don't think he was actually ever on stage, but there were photos and all kinds of cool stuff. And at the bottom of the tray, I saw this, and I screamed whenever I saw it. I was like, are you kidding? This is incredible. So this actually has his monogram on the side. It's an FM. So I don't know if that's his middle name or his actual last name, but his name was indeed Frank. I had letters of his and all kinds of stuff that I have unfortunately lost to time now because that was so long ago, and I've moved around a lot and kept them places, and I'm going to try to find what I can. But there were composition books where he actually wrote, you know, his sketches and stuff. And then inside of here, there were pencil leads to a mechanical pencil, very old pencil leads. They were thick. So I actually wanted to look into that more. But trust me, I have letters from him that were dated like 1920. So definitely a very old piece. I looked this up online. I think it was like 1906 or something like that when this was made. So it's an awesome piece. I actually ended up naming her Lily because she has lilies on her. It's really cool for me to own something that was so personal to someone. That's the kind of stuff I always look for. So I think this is a really awesome piece. And for a long time, this was one of my few possessions whenever I moved across the country. I didn't bring much with me at all, and this was the one thing I threw in my bag, and I'm really glad I did so I didn't lose it. So this is a Diatite 1878 hand mirror, and it's still pretty dirty. I've cleaned it a bit, but not much, because you know I didn't really want to. But I mean, it's not like it's worth a ton, and I might actually clean it a little bit more because it does make my hands pretty dirty whenever I touch it. But it's basically a type of pressed plastic, early pressed plastic, and it's pretty cool. I like the design on it. I also love the glass. I've taken cool pictures of myself with it to kind of have like a creepy filter. I know nothing about her other than I've taken apart the frame to clean her, and she's definitely some kind of sketch on a thick paper that I believe was kind of made to hold pastels. It does have a little bit of a tooth to it. She has these very intense eyes, and I had some feelings, so I decided I had to have her. She has a really cool collar, and her hair is up in a bow, and you guys are going to be seeing a separate video about her. I don't know when she's from, honestly, and I'm still trying to find out. So if you saw my monthly favorites video, you know all about this guy. Now, this is not an antique. I just have this here for now. This is eyeball beer. Now, I am someone that believes in haunted objects, which is what we will have another video on eventually. And I just felt something from this whenever I found it thrifting, like the most intense like presence in this eyeball. It used to be very unsettling. I used to keep this thing out in my garage, but it's just this cool mirror that has an eyeball on it. It's most likely vintage. It's not antique or anything like that, but it looks really cool in my collection. It'll eventually be hung on my wall, but if you haven't met Eyeball Mirror, here's your proper introduction. Alright, so second favorite shelf. Now, nothing will be laid out in this way whenever I actually have my cabinet. This is where I keep a lot of my tintypes just kind of spread out. So here are some of my tintypes. I really like this one because the lady is smiling and her baby looks kind of creepy because of how he moved, and I really like her blouse. I just thought this baby looked very angelic. So I actually named this cutie after my friend Steve Hummel over at Archive of the Afterlife because I just feel like she looks so much like Steve, so I call her Stevie, but I might name her Stephanie. I just thought that was really funny. She is gorgeous. She almost has this like glossy enamel look to her that I really like. Here were two of my first tintypes of the sisters. I thought their outfits were really cool. Here's another favorite. Oh, she's so pretty. And if you guys can't see these okay, be sure to check my Instagram because I always post pictures of my tintypes on there. I thought this couple was really, really cool looking. Here's another shaky baby. This one I love because the woman was just outside with a tree, and I just thought that was a really cool place for a picture. This one's incredibly sweet because it's kind of candid. You just have a lady in the background smiling and her little baby walking around. Look at these. These tintypes are huge. Look at their outfits and all that jewelry and the feathered hats. Oh, amazing. These people had a ton of money. And I have a slightly smaller tintype here of two sisters, and they appear to be in an actual photo set. Oh, they're so pretty. Look at this group shot. Look at that guy's mustache. That's crazy. So I don't have much paper photography because my main love is tintypes and these fancy babies. But I do have a little bit of paper photography. So in the back there is a cute little girl, and it was actually just her birthday the other day. I believe it says this was taken in 1904. So there's a really cool wicker stroller, and she has flowers in her hands. And then this girl I actually bought at the Weeping Glass in Pittsburgh, which is an oddity shop. And she just has like the most comforting presence about her. So next to them we have an early brownie camera, and I absolutely love it. The viewfinder on it is so cool. Let me see if I can show you guys. Can you see the stuff moving in here? It's really neat. And then on top we have my 1940s goggles, and I am quite fond of these. They fit me really comfy, and they're just really fun. Alright, so this next shelf, it's just sad. It's one of those shelves that, like, it'll be an expansion shelf. This bookcase does not really work for what I need because it's just not tall enough. I'm trying to get a cabinet, so I just wanted to have my antiques out so I can start enjoying them. So this will eventually be an actual bookcase at some point, but this is my sad shelf. Alright, so in the back here we have Victorian calling cards. I'm kind of a fan of these. You can get these pretty cheap. This one I paid a couple bucks extra for because there's actually a photo of the gentleman there. I thought that was really neat. And underneath is actually, I believe, his name. Oops, that's great. I just messed that up. I kind of have a thing for hands, so anything with hands on it is really fun to collect. This is a beaker. Don't know why that's here, but it's there. So in this jewelry box, we have some pieces that are Victorian and some I still haven't properly dated yet. So this is a Victorian brooch, and it was actually pretty cheap because, you know, it's just made out of the cheaper metals, but it's still absolutely beautiful. Here's another favorite of mine. This is a Victorian scarf clip with a beautiful glass gemstone in there. Really love this piece a lot. Then we have this Victorian era locket, and what I love about this is that somebody tried to fix it with gold paint. And I love little things like that where someone put their own little touch on it. I just thought that was really cool. Look at those details. So it actually opens in the back. The locket part is not very big at all. See if I can do this with one hand. There we go. So here we have another Victorian monogram locket, and I know these are Victorian because I got nearly all of these from the same seller, and I did a lot of research and they haven't let me down yet. So this one has a monogram on it, and it's really cute. It's like a steel locket. I'm really hoping to find HMS or HS someday. Someday it'll happen for me. So here are two pieces I was quite excited about, but they ended up not being what I was hoping. So I was hoping that this was a mourning piece, and my friend informed me that cameos are not mourning. So that was a bummer. And I had been hoping that it was made out of jet and that it was Victorian, but it's most likely 1920s. I'm still trying to find out. There's the maker's mark. You can't read it. But she's thinking it's probably 1920s. It's still a really beautiful piece though, and I really like it. I got it at a flea market. And then this is an old brooch that's made out of fire opal, and I thought that was really pretty. There's what the back looks like. It doesn't even work anymore. It's so old, but I thought it was really beautiful. So I will finish this up by showing you guys what else we have. So here we have two Victorian autograph books, both from, I believe this one's from the 1880s, and this one is mostly 1890s to early 1900s, and I believe there's a little bit of late 1880s in this one. So this one is cool because it's my local area, which I love, because I love the history of this area. My family definitely has roots here, which is really cool, going back to the Revolutionary War. So this is a really cool one. This was owned by a girl named Mary, and this is by a gentleman named Charles, and I love this one too. And I also have this little doorbell here, which is kind of fun. It's just kind of hanging out until I turn it into something. So I have other things that I'm waiting until I can properly display them, such as this page from a German letter book, and it's all about the letter H. And I was really drawn to hang because it's just so creepy, right? So I actually bought this from Evan at Obscura. If you guys remember the show Oddities, they had an Oddities market in Philadelphia, and I went out to their event and I bought this right from her, and she taught me all about it. It was really cool. There's even more on the back, but I'm definitely going to show the other side because it's extra creepy. And then she also sold me this cover of Dante's Inferno. It's literally just the cover. I believe she said this was 1890s, if I remember correctly, but it's so beautiful. And this is just going to be literally in the back of my cabinet. It's not in very good condition, but it's really beautiful and really cool. She just had it on display, and she saw I liked it and was like, okay, you can buy it. So I got this from her, and it's just one of those things that I'm just going to have as kind of like a background piece in my collection. Alright everyone, so you got to meet my little Victorian children. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know by leaving a thumbs up. I collect all kinds of things on this channel, and more videos of all of my collections are coming very soon. I have a small antique collection here, but I'm really happy with what I got. Oh, you guys are probably wondering what else I want to have in my collection. Well, whenever I'm settled, I really want to get a Victorian hair wreath. That is like #1 dream item for me. Some of you guys might be wondering if I want to collect old dolls. Yes, that's also on the list. But for right now, I'm very content with some of these old photos that I have. I think they're really cool. I would love to get more like this, even though my collection is literally just a bunch of pictures of dead people at this point. So I'm gonna have to find a nicer way to arrange them. So I actually put this spider web thing over the bookcase, and I really like it. I got this at Goodwill a while back. It's just a table runner. But anyways, guys, that's about it for this video. Hopefully, morning hair jewelry or a wreath will be in my future. But for now, I got these babes, and I'm glad I got to share them with you today. Let me know in the comment section down below what was your favorite piece in my collection. And until next time, stay positive and stay weird. Happy hunting out there on your collectibles. Bye, everyone.